my notes. One of the most frustrating things about being employed is figuring out how to communicate with people. There can be a range of issues from different personality styles to different communication styles. Today we're going to discuss several opportunities when it comes to workplace communication, such as how can we plan and hold effective meetings or send emails, what happens when we give instructions, and what happens when people jump to conclusions, and finally, poor attitudes in the workplace. I'm sure we've all dealt with that. So, how many times have you been to a meeting and at the end of it you thought to yourself, that really could have been an email? In order to avoid that, there's certain things to consider, such as you need to be organized, you need to set an agenda, and you need to use your time wisely. So when you're planning a meeting, there are certain factors that should be considered, such as, like I said before, should I have the meeting? What are we going to discuss? Who's going to be in charge? When's the meeting going to be over? And we've all sat around at a meeting and pretended to pay attention. I know I have. I used to have a job where I went to 4 meetings a day. I always felt like I couldn't get anything done. So the first step in order to avoid that is to decide, is this meeting even necessary? According to the Harvard Business Review, the first question you should ask is, what is this meeting intended to achieve? Another way you can consider whether you should have a meeting is a thing called the snow day test. I learned about this on the Huffington Post, and what that is imagine if you and your entire meeting participants are stranded because you're snowed in. Could you achieve your goals by having emails or phone calls instead? So after deciding if your meeting is necessary, how do you ensure that it's effective? First thing is you should set an agenda that's going to have your desired outcome. Second is you should distribute your agenda to your participants so that they can come to the meeting prepared. There's examples of the PowerPoint of an agenda. So now that you know what your topic is going to be for your meeting, let's discuss how to hold a meeting. You should set rules and structure, and that means you should designate a leader. According to the Huffington Post, your leader should set a positive and energetic tone. You should also have ground rules, and that way your participants know what your objectives are, and they will engage in your meeting more productively. You should designate your roles ahead of time, such as who's going to be the note taker. These tactics will ensure that you use your time wisely and make sure that you keep your meeting brief in order to keep your participants engaged. So we've discussed several different factors to consider, such as always determining if your meeting is necessary and setting an agenda and your leader keeping things on track. So now that you know whether you should have a meeting, Robert is going to discuss what to do if you really can't just send an email.